All right. So this broadcast is about how to get people to loan you money, specifically friends, family members. And it's a very simple concept. It's super simple, I swear. One, be a friend. Two, ask infrequently. Three, pay back 30% interest and pay back quickly. Technically three and four, but I'll put it into one. Number one, be a friend, right? So if you be coming out, yo, listen, right? If you come out of nowhere and you're asking for a loan, and the last time I talked to you was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there's been no contact in between now and 20 years ago, and the only time you show up is in a time of crisis and an emergency. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. Like, this is how we do each other as human beings, and it'd be the same way that we do God for real. Like, a lot of us really aren't interested in having a relationship with God. But when it's time for a miracle, we know how to pray. You know, when it's an emergency, we know how to talk to Him. When we know, but when things are going good, it's like, oh, well, there's no need to talk to you. You know, um, if you do people like that, you're gonna be met with the same energy, which is they're not gonna care that you're in a crisis, and you're gonna reach out to people, ask for money, possibly need it. No, you definitely need it if you're reaching out. They're possibly gonna have it, and have zero interest in giving it to you, even though they probably have $30,000 saved, $50,000 saved, you know? And you might think, oh, that's so inconsiderate. How could you have 50 grand saved and you won't give me $50? Because in their mind, like, who are you to them? You know what I mean? And that's why the first thing that ought to be established is the friendship. If you have a friendship, you could reasonably ask for a lot of things, you know, and a friendship means, you know, you show up, you see if they're okay emotionally, mentally, you know what I mean? You hang out, you do things, you talk on the phone occasionally, you know. What's crazy is there's people that we want to have relationships, or there's people that we show up for, and there's people that, you know, maybe you wanted to hang out with, go to the movie theaters with or whatever, and they didn't have time to do all that stuff, you know, like they couldn't answer your calls for like other things, but they know your number when they need something, you know. So you got to understand like how people are going to receive that, and they're going to look at you like, all right, so then now that you're in a crisis, why should it matter to me? What's in it for me, right? And you might be like, yo, but I'm going to pay you back. If I don't know you for like 10 years, just because I known you in high school don't mean I know you. We're people that knew each other. Doesn't mean I know you, doesn't mean I knew you. Like, you know, what have you done for me lately is always the question that human beings are asking. And every relationship is transactional, right? Usually it's a lot of like people that don't bring a lot of value to their relationship. They get mad at the thought of things being transactional. It's because you add no value. That's why it pisses you off, you know? I try to add as much value as I can to family, friends, as much as possible, to the highest degree possible, right? And then now, if I ever need something, I could ask within reason, because I've been a benefactor in their life. You know what I'm saying? I've been present in their life. You know what I mean? So you can't even get to step number two if you don't get to step number one, right? Step number one is be a friend, right? Step number two, ask infrequently. Don't be needing a loan every 3 months, every 2 months. Every time somebody look at you, you need $1. You know what I mean? Like, and if you are that person, first of all, you work at, let's say you work at KFC. That's why you're poor. Look at where you work. You know what I mean? KFC, they don't pay nothing. Walmart don't pay nothing. You know, for those of you that have shit jobs, you hate your wages, and you rather criticize the structure of reality than to see what you could do to be adaptable and find yourself in a better position. Like, I'm sorry, like, you know, the world's not going to empathize with you. Like, no one's going to give you a shot, you know, and you could get mad at whatever, you know, the white man, or think someone's oppressing you, or someone is statistically more advantaged than you know, but getting mad at people doing significantly better than you does nothing to better your circumstance now. You know what I mean? So if you want people to be able to like loan you money and stuff, one, just be a friend. You know what I mean? Don't be a ghost. Um, don't ask that much. Three is an interesting one, right? A lot of people might not agree with this. A bank wouldn't even give me a loan unless I'm willing to pay back interest, unless interest being paid back is part of the contract written out. You know what I mean? Why? Because the bank is asking what's in it for me if I help you. Okay, I'll give you $100, but can I get back 115? You know what I mean? And that's the only reason that banks give you money. You know what I mean? So there was a time in my life where I tried that. I was like, you know what? Let me incentivize people the way the banks are incentivized to do business, right? So I tried it with friends and family, and you know, sometimes I would borrow $500, I pay back 650, or I pay back 700. You know what I mean? Or I'd borrow 1,000 and I pay back 30% interest rate, which is 1,300. Yo, the amount of people that got excited to loan me money because I'm paying back interest It's crazy. And I would pay back as quickly as I can and try to position myself to not need money from people, right? There's been times where I'm in situations and I got a couple rich friends, man, that make like 20,000, 30,000 a month, and it's like I've wanted to ask if they could help out, but I know, first of all, I didn't know if they would say yeah. Second of all, the relationship meant too much to me to potentially compromise it. You know what I mean? So, yo, you could get whatever you want from people if they have something to emotionally draw from to give you what you're asking for, right? Because we're always in a transaction with somebody, right? We're always bargaining with one another. And you got to understand, you don't have much bargaining rights. You don't have the means for negotiation when the last time you talked to somebody is 22 years ago, right? Like they don't give a fuck that you're suffering. They don't give a fuck that you need $200, that you need $100, that you need, you know. But why should they though? Like, have you given them reason to? You know what I mean? Like anyone who deals with me, right? We only deal with people we'd rather deal with. In general, that's what human beings do. Because out of all the people that you could have repeated interactions with, why would you have repeated interactions with the people that are the least useful to you? As a species, we don't even do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that there's an ongoing fight for equality. Everyone's the same. You don't actually believe everyone's the same because you don't pick up everybody's phone call with the same speed as you do your favorite people, right? Whoever your favorite people are in the world, the phone doesn't ring much before you answer. You know what I mean? Whoever your favorite people are in the world, it's a good chance that 30 days don't go by until you finally respond. That's what you do to your least favorite people. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so you got to mean something to somebody, right? And you got to be able to contribute. You also got to be able to help and be the type of friend you would like them to be to you. So if you need money, what if they need money? Well, like, don't be cheap about it. Be willing to help them out too, man. I've had people that I remember. I had this female producer, right, and I gave her an advance. It was like $500. She used to make beats for me. She didn't even make all the damn beats, right? Developed quite a chronic gambling addiction issue, right? Lost $30,000 in gambling, more than that, to be honest. I gave her a $500 advance, so the tides, like, is definitely uneven. The value that I gave her versus what was given back. And one time during a time of crisis and emergency, she was one of the people that I reached out to, and I sent the Cash App request, only for like $10. Very basic necessities. I just wanted to get my phone bill paid. And this person spazzed, sent me like, yo, like, you should be ashamed of yourself. You got to get your life in order. It's not my fault you're struggling. It's like, whoa, you acting weird over $10, considering the fact that I gave you a $500 advance for beats that I didn't even get. It was $100 a beat. I didn't even get all the beats that I paid for, right? But I know she was in a sticky situation financially, and I was making so much money abundantly that I didn't mind sharing the surplus amount that I was making with people that I cared for at the time, right? So I felt like I was within reason to ask for $10, considering that I've given you $500 fucking. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that that's a crazy like request. But you got to understand, you could take the same person, and they had an adverse reaction to what I was asking for. They was looking at me like I was crazy, which I thought I was within reason, because it's like, if I've given you 500, I don't think it should be a big deal for me to request $10 back. And I don't even care that I didn't get paid back on all the beats that you were supposed to produce for me, whatever. I'll take it on the chin, you know what I mean? Another person, I got somebody else in my life. I've given up to $1,800. You know why? Because number one, be a friend. They was a friend to me. You know what I mean? Number two, they kind of, I ain't gonna lie, they kind of asked frequently, and they wasn't really good with their finances and shit like that. Out of the $1,800, which is damn near 2,000, and I never told them this, but if I ever got to 2,000, I would have been like, look, if you never pay back the 2 grand, we good, but just don't be asking for no more goddamn money, because I don't got it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't a damn charity. But obviously, I like this person more than I do most people, because I've never done that for anybody, where it's like $1,800. You know what I'm saying? I gotta like you a lot for me to be willing to do that for you, right? So that's the side of me that you get to unlock. The same side of other people that you get to unlock, if only you be that person is worthy of receiving a loan from them, right? Because as soon as you ask, people are, you're gonna tell about your emergency crisis. You crashed your car. They're really gonna think, why should I care? And you're gonna think the world is heartless, but you don't understand. You're trying to reap a harvest in areas in which you haven't sown. And if you want to reap a harvest, all you have to do is sow seeds. Life is so fucking simple. It's crazy. It's crazy how simple these concepts are to me. You know what I'm saying? But As humans, we try to reap a harvest in areas where we haven't sown a damn seed at all. You know what I mean? And what's crazy, what's interesting is, like Jim Rohn says, um, people think that you reap what you sow, but the truth is you always reap so much more than what you sow. Like a single seed contains a forest inside of it. One seed, an entire forest. It's crazy. I think about people that put $100 into crypto, I mean Bitcoin, when it was like $1. You know what I'm saying? Bro, they got 68 Bitcoin, 77 Bitcoins right now. If they, you know what I mean? Like that's good. Nah, they got more than that. Shit. I don't know how much they got, but let's say they put $100 in when Bitcoin was worth 35 cents, and they still sitting on Bitcoin. You know what I mean? So is that person reaping what they've sown? No. If they cash out right now, they're reaping so much more than what they've sown, right? Let's take a negative example, right? There's a man somewhere out in the world calling a female the B word, calling her a bitch, right? Which I never do. I try not to do that ever. You know what I mean? Because as a man, calling a girl a bitch, your life is on the line potentially, because you don't know what group of men care about that girl enough to end you today or before dawn tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So your life could really be ended over one word. Even if it's within reason for you to call her that, even if that's what she's worthy of being called, or even if she displayed attributes of a person that you feel like, yo, like you deserve to be cursed out, so I'm gonna just curse you out. You know what I mean? Even so, right? A guy called the girl a bitch. The next day, his life ended. Did he reap what he sowed? No, he reaped so much more than what he's sown. What he sown into the ground was one curse word, but what he reaped out of it was his life taken away from him. You see what I mean? So the thing about friends is, you don't necessarily have to put in a workload of an amount in order to get a harvest. You know what I'm saying? It could be incremental things. It could be small things. To many people, there's little things that count. Like even just calling somebody to say, hey, like, wanted to see how you're doing, man. Haven't talked in a while. Want to make sure you're good. Do you need anything? Like, yo, that could mean the world to a person, because nobody fucking does that. So the bar is set so low to be considered a phenomenal person in the life of somebody else, because most people aren't fucking phenomenal. Most people are basic. Most people don't care. Most people are about self only. And the best way to be selfish is to be selfless. You start giving a fuck about people outside of yourself, as there's something in it for you. You know what I'm saying? Checking up on other people, you might be like, the fuck is the point of that? Yo, there's something in it for you, right? Because now when you need something, you're not a complete stranger asking, right? So I want to go through something real quick, right? So I was on ChatGPT, and I typed in, what do you need to get a bank loan, right? Because it's probably similar to how a friend would give you a loan. It's probably similar criteria. So to get a bank loan, no, wait, let me see. Did I get it right? Strong credit profile. Okay, this is what banks look for. First, they look at your credit. They do a credit check. A credit check is nothing besides a character check. Let me see what my percentage on my phone. A credit check is a character check. So if you have poor credit, to them, you have poor character, and they don't do business with poor character. They want your credit score to be 700 or above for them to consider you for a bank loan, and then how many thousands you want depend on how much you make, right? Number two, they want you to have stable income, financial documentation, right? So they don't want you to be jobless, right? If you ain't got a job, how you gonna pay them back? And a lot of people that you're asking money from, you're not even making a plan with them to pay them back. You don't even care to pay them back. And some of you borrow 100 and then another 100 and then another 100. Before you know it, the damn tab is unchecked by you, but they're aware of it, and it's like 1,200. And when they start saying no, you wonder why, and you get bitter and resentful. And it's like, yo, they said yes to $1,200 that you didn't pay back. And the way you respect that friendship is paying it back as soon as possible, because you don't want to take them for granted. Because if you do, then when you need more money, they just won't be present. Because, just like the person that I gave $1,800 to, right? Which, by the way, I think they paid $300 to $400 back. So they still owe me like $1,400. Yo, there's a good chance I may never see that money again. And I always accept those terms and conditions when I'm giving out money. I'm giving you money, basically. I might never see this back again, so I'm not going to hound you for it. Plus, I have massive plans to become extremely wealthy, and I know I'm going to have a lot of money. So I'm not tripping about $1,400. Like, I would feel like a peasant, like even talking about that, like $1,400. And people might feel differently. People are like, nah, man, I want my money, like, So, at the same time, I know another person who they paid me for a song. They paid me $20. My asking price was only $30, but then they had attitude about it. Their attitude was, when I brought it up, you should be thankful for what I gave you. because it's better than nothing. It's like, well, if that's your attitude, then we ain't working no more because you're not my friend. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is business, you know? And it's my fault because friendship should be established before you do business with somebody, right? It doesn't matter how talented you are. Like, whether I work with you or not, it should be predicated on whether I like you as a person, whether I could stand to be in the same fucking room as you, breathing the same oxygen or not, right? These things matter. You know what I mean? If not, you're gonna like work with a lot of people you'd rather not work with, or your morals or your ethics don't align and stuff, and you just find yourself, um, getting involved with people because there's monetary gain in a collaboration. But I don't care to collaborate with an asshole, or I don't care personally, right? We're all different, and that's fine. I don't care to collaborate with someone that it's like, yo, these are your morals. Nah, I'm cool, right? Because I would feel weird underpaying you for your service. I don't even want your service unless I could pay you for it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I ask my friends to do a favor for me. I didn't say I was gonna pay them, but I pay them. I got my one friend. Like, every time I go to his house, man, he would cut my hair. Well, not every time, but when he did, I would pay him $40, and he would do it. He's the type of person who would do it for free. He would never charge me. But it's like, if I was on someone else's barber chair, I'd be paying for the service. What's wrong with me paying for my friend? Why? Because it's my friend. I think I'm entitled to getting a discount. Why as a culture, we don't like paying our friends money for their services? That shit is corny to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will never accept a friend giving me services without me giving them compensation. Because you giving me services took some of your time, and in exchange for your time, which you can never get back, the very fucking least I could do is pay you $100, $50, whatever the price of service rendered to me. However it's appropriately priced, you know what I'm saying? And shit, I tend to overpay for service, especially if you're my friend. It's like, I'll give you the service amount plus a tip. That's just me. A lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people are trying to like finagle their friends and see what they could get for free. But that's not friendship. That's exploitation. But why be exploitative with a friend if you consider them to be a friend, right? So, anyways, back to this shit. Strong credit profile, right? So if you have good credit, they trust you to do business with you because you've paid back money to other people, right? And if you paid back money to other people, you have a track record of proving that you're not going to just take money and disappear, right? So, stable income, right? And then collateral. So yeah, same thing, man. I mean, credit check, character check. Be a friend. They're checking your character. Like, who are you to me? Why should I help? Why should I give a fuck, right? And we do this to God, man. This is the sad part. Like I was saying in the beginning of this podcast, the same way we do each other is the same way we do God, right? Like, we don't know him when things are good. We only know him when the storm arises and when there's a fucking emergency and when it's time to pray. Because if you don't, you could, man, today could be your last day and you're hoping it's not. And you know how to reach him when it's times of desperation. But he's just as easily accessible when the sun is out and it's not raining. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Ask infrequently. This is a big one. Some people are gonna ask all the time, man. I remember I had to tell a person years ago, like, yo, they asked me for some money. I'm like, bro, honestly, if I had it, I wouldn't give it to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't rock with you like that. When do we ever talk unless you need something? You know, I used to talk to you to try to like hang out and shit like that. You ain't got time to hang out, but you know how to text me to ask for something. As human beings in general, we don't appreciate that shit. You know, uh, I had another person, another person from high school. They asked me years ago, right? They asked for like $100. I sent it. They asked for another 50, 75, whatever the fuck. I sent it. After that, it's like, yo, and here's the rule I established. Here's a rule that can help you, right? Set boundaries. It's like, all right, I've given you $200. If you want to keep that shit, I don't care. I'm never going to hound you for it. I'm not a peasant that's incapable of producing more income, right? I don't need to hold on for dear life for fucking $200. What's $200? Nothing. Probably means more to you than it does to me. I'll just go produce more money, right? That's how I view money. Like, that's why I'm not never tripping. That's why I'm not tripping about $1,400 that somebody owes me, right? Because this person will probably never pay me back, and they're probably incapable of paying me back, and they're not doing good financially, and they may never be doing good financially, you know. And I know this ladder I'm about to ascend high as hell, and I'm gonna be doing so good that one day that moment's not gonna matter. So, because I look forward to bigger things, I'm just not in the past like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like all right, whatever. So, this person, hold on, getting off track with all these stories I be telling at the same time. My bad. All right, so the person that owes me 1,400, right? They paid like 3 or 4, and the total was like 1,800. And oh yeah, okay, I remember. All right, so there's one person I gave 100 to, and then I gave another 50, and then the tab was like 150, and I had to establish some boundaries to say, yo, like here's the tab. I'm not saying you owe this to me. You could keep it. I don't give a damn. But if you think you're gonna ask for more money and then I'm gonna give it and then ask for more money, it's like women do this a lot, yo. Like women, oh my god, you know, women. If you're trying to get something from a man, like if he's not your man, like, cause men, here's how men think. What am I getting? Like we don't even have sex. You're not even my girlfriend. Like I'm not even gonna get no head. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what's the exchange here? That's what guys are thinking typically, right? You know, guys are just as transactional as anybody else, right? But when it comes to women asking for like cash app money, it'd be like, yo, can I get $50? And it's like, who are you again? Like, I don't even know your last name, you know? Oh, I'm in an emergency. Oh, it's just that I need formula for my kids. Oh, I need, and the guy's really thinking in his head, man, fuck you and them kids. Like, what does that mean to me? What does that mean to me? It's not my kids. Those are your kids. It's not my responsibility. It's your responsibility, right? Plus, you don't talk to him. Like, yo, you, like, oh my God. All right, so this next part, specifically for women, you want to extract money from a guy, it's very fucking easy. Just call him on the phone occasionally. Fuck, man. Call him and be like, hey, yeah, just want to see if you're okay. You know, how you been? Like, how's everything? Have a normal fucking conversation. It takes 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? You'd be surprised that when you hang up the phone, he might send you $100 for no fucking reason, and he's in his room sobbing because most men are losers for real. So, because for the first time in his life, he feels like a female gives a damn about his psyche and his mental health and if he's doing okay, right? And because it seemed genuine, and because he knows that when you hung up the phone, you wasn't actually asking for anything, and he rewarded you for that and sent you a fucking cash app of $100, $200, because he can't believe that you care, right? Because I would argue that most women that randomly cash app request somebody, obviously you probably don't know the person, you probably don't give a fuck about the person who's potentially going to send you the money or not, or about their well-being, whether they die or not. So if they know that, and if they have that, if that's how they perceive you, like if they, whether they were to live or die today, it wouldn't matter to you. There's nothing for them to draw from to care about that you're in a crisis or in an emergency. You're not their girlfriend. He's not getting no box from you, right? Y'all not having sex, right? At least if y'all was having sex, he would be incentivized to be like, all right, well, I guess I can help you out. Shit, and you be helping me out. So, right. So like he'd have something to draw from, but there's no connection. You don't call him. You don't text him. You don't see how he's doing. You literally pop up to ask for money, and then that's it. And then sometimes he sends it, but then the only other times you pop up is to get more money. It's not gonna fly. You know, back to rule number one: be somebody's friend. Ask infrequently. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to come off as a fucking peasant that always needs something. You know, because you know you're looking to be rewarded and like randomly, and then the only reward that you're gonna get is someone else's silence, and then you wonder why they left you on red and why they're not saying anything back to you, because you're not worthy of a response to them. You know what I'm saying? Which in general, man, people get mad about someone didn't reply to their text. It's things that I used to get mad about. I never think about that anymore. It's like if I send something and someone didn't reply to it, you don't think my text is worthy of a response, that's fine. I don't have to trip about it, you know. And if you're actively working on goals, I promise you, these things won't matter to you. It won't matter that someone doesn't reply to a fucking text, but some people, they get all bent out of shape about that. All right, so moving on, right? Because I covered this in depth. I hope this fucking helps somebody who needs money quick. Establish friendships. Life is going to get hard. When life gets hard, it's good to have a lot of allies. It's better to have allies than to have nobody that assists you. Because if nobody gives a fuck about you, when life gets hard, all you have is you and God. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, they, you know, the way they be worrying, it seems like they're not even sure if they have God. Because if you knew you had God, you wouldn't worry. Like knowing that God's on your side cancels out the worry automatically. Faith, fear and faith cannot exist in the same place. One's going to cancel the other one out. So either you're living in fear or you're living in faith. And if you're living in faith, the fear, it can't exist in the same place that faith can. You know what I mean? So for those of you, you know, hyper worried about how it's going to go, and I never feel like I need to know how it's going to go. You know, I have faith knowing that I'm connected to somebody that knows it's going to go well. I'm connected, I'm comfortable not knowing everything because I'm connected to somebody that knows everything. That's where my comfort comes from, right? All right, next part. I feel like this is equally as important as the first part, right? So, at your fucking job, right? that you probably hate because most of us do. We get paid for one of three things. You're selling your time, your service, or a product. Most people don't have a service or a product, so they sell you their time. You're always going to be the brokest selling your time um, than you would be if you sold a service or a product, right? Because products and services, these things are scalable. Think about Apple Music, right? It's a service. Think about the iPhone. It's a product. iPhone sells over 20,000 phones per hour. It might be is it per minute? No, I don't know. In an hour, yeah. I think they sell over 20,000, 30,000 units per hour, right? So what I have on screen is $1 million, right? And let's say you have a product. You sell hats. You sell hats, right? Maybe it's a premium hat. I don't know. $25 though. Let's say you sell a $25 hat. So in order for you to make $1 million, you have to take your $25 hat, right, and sell 40,000 units. When you sell 40,000 units, you're going to get to $1 million. So obviously, serving 40,000 people, that sounds daunting. It's like, damn, that's an exuberant amount of people. How the fuck, you know? Well, how do you get there quicker? You raise the premium. You know, you could sell something for $100, and now you only have to serve 10,000 people, right? I had a digital product. I'm not really marketing it at the moment, but the highest tier product was $900, which means instead of serving 10,000 people, I would only have to serve 1,111 people, 12 people technically because of the decimal. So 1,112 people in order for me to become a millionaire, right? And if you break that down further, 1,112, you divide that by 365, which means I would have to serve about 3 clients per day with a $900 product, 3.04 clients per day. What am I getting at by telling you this? Is the money that you wish to make will be in proportion to the amount of people that you serve. A lot of people are broke because the things they do are not scalable and they aren't serving that many people, right? They only care to serve themselves, and that's why you have nothing. Look, going back to this thing, be a friend, right? There's a lot of people randomly asking you for Cash App money. And it's like you have such a self-serving attitude. You don't care to show up in other people's lives and make sure that they're good. And that's why when it's time for someone to make sure that you're good, no one gives a fuck. You don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Like, the point of this video is to help somebody, to help someone who's a chronic chronic pleader, always pleading for help, always begging. You know what I'm saying? You want people to care about your problems? Care about theirs. The quickest way to get people to care about you is to care about them. There's a verse from the Bible that says, you love me because I loved you first. You know what I mean? Like, if God didn't love you as much as you did, or if you didn't experience the love of God, like, what incentive would you have to love him back? Like, the reason that you have to draw from as to why you even love God is because he loved you first, right? According to the gospel, it's because of, you know, the sacrifice of Jesus and stuff. And that's how you know, right? That's how it's made clear, his love. Another thing, right? The word love is very finicky. Love means sacrifice, right? And to the degree that you're willing to sacrifice for somebody is to the degree that you love them. If you don't love them, you're not willing to sacrifice for them. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be able to display what you're willing to sacrifice for a person to prove your love or your worth to a person, right? Because it doesn't get more sacrificial than potentially sacrificing your life for a person. Is the ultimate love, right? According in the Bible, right? It says, what greater love have a man than this, that one would sacrifice his life for another. You know what I mean? My phone be blurring up, my bad. So anyways, if you chronically need a loan all the time, it's because your wages are shit, and your wages are shit because you have a shit job, and maybe you don't have that many skills. If you don't try to develop yourself, you will always get paid what you always got paid, and things will always be what they always were if you continue to do the things that lead to those outcomes. Because the problem is people complain about their life 10 to 15 years at a time and do nothing to change it. And you know, in life, you don't get what you think you deserve. You know, you get whatever you maintain. You know, you get whatever you repeatedly accept, and whatever you repeatedly accept becomes exactly what you deserve. And if you deserve any different, then why don't you accept any different than what you've been accepting, right? So, and it's really up to you, man. And you can't blame, I mean, you could, I guess, if you want. You can't really blame politicians and this guy's doing, like, you know, this senator and this president and, you know. Let me show you something. Hold on. Let me log into something real quick. I'm about to wrap this up pretty quick. The phone is dying. Yo, but like invest in yourself, man. Invest in yourself. Get wiser, get smarter, get better, get articulate above all things, man. Learn how to communicate your ideas in a clear, concise manner. You know what I mean? Learn how to, and then learn how to bring value to the marketplace. The more value you bring, the more valuable you are. I can't believe that somebody could get paid $900. No, give me a second. I mean, $200,000 to speak for an hour, right? Some of my favorite motivational speakers, that's how much they get paid. $200,000, and they speak for 1 hour, right? So I'm gonna show you a course that I just bought. Shameless plug. Buy this course if you want. You could check it out. This is what I'm up to lately. If you're wondering, maybe you don't give a fuck, whatever. Maybe it's useful to somebody out there. The SDR Whisperer teaches you. I've been wanting to get into sales for a minute. The cheapest program is $97 a month. The reason I bought is because I was like, yo, this is at least a 30x return on my investment, 100x return, right? There's people in this program. They're being taught how to do cold calling, how to talk to prospects. They have forums, they have online course. Give me a second. You get to talk to the mentors in here, weekly coaching calls, live feedback, one-on-one assessment of your activities, guaranteed sales opportunity. This is why I bought right here. Because when you're done, you get a certification. I talk so damn fast, my bad. You get a certification, right? They certify you, and then they link you to companies that need your skills, that need you to close deals, right? There's something called a high ticket closer. And this is an alternative to begging your friends for money, right? Become more, man, have some decency, man. Become more valuable to the marketplace, or you ain't got to beg your friends for $1. You know what I mean? So high ticket closing. If there's a $5,000 opportunity and there's a company that has, let's say they got 20,000 leads, right? And you're getting on the phone. I met somebody the other day who was doing 250 outbound dials every day. And some people in this program are making $15,000 a month, $10,000 a month on a phone at home from their computer. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Anyways, high ticket closer, right? So you sell a $5,000 product. It's not your product, it's somebody else's. It belongs to the company. Maybe it's a weight loss plan. Maybe it's a Forex trading course. Maybe it's an interactive program. Who knows what the hell it is? It doesn't matter what it is. The price of it is $5,000. If you sell it, you get a 10% commission. That's $500. That's just one client. What if you get 2 clients in a day? Do you think if you're calling 250 people that you could close 2 of them in a day? Because on average, when it comes to being a salesman, for every 100 people that you talk to, you're probably going to convert 5%. But let's say it's 2%, 2%, right? So out of 250, right? You make 250 phone calls. You're not going to connect to all of those. Who knows how many actual connections? A connection is when they answer the phone, right? So 250 times, give me a second. 2%, yeah, 2%, right? All right, so 5. I don't know if it's realistic. Who knows? To close 5 people a day. Let's say you get 3 people a day. If you're making that many phone calls, somebody's going to say yes to your opportunity, right? So it's 500 times 3. 500 times 3, that's 1,500 in one fucking day, right? And then that's 1,500 times 30. What's that in a month? $45,000 in a month. I know it sounds stupid to make this amount of money. Yo, people are doing it though. You know what I'm saying? I got connected to this course because I believe I can make at least a $10,000 month eventually, and it's only $97 a month, and they give you all of this training. So instead of begging your friends for a loan, become more valuable to the marketplace. You know what I'm saying? Like, this world will give you money if you just solve its problems. So you have to become obsessed with what are the problems that other people have and how can I solve it? You know what I'm saying? Because the amazing thing about people, you solve their problems, they compensate you. That's the reward for you solving their problem. That's why I love capitalism, because you can't name a better system. Come on, man. What is it? Socialism, communism? Like all you do is show up in the marketplace, you solve somebody's problem, and as a result of you solving somebody's problem somewhere, in that exchange, both parties come out more happy than they were before the exchange took place. You're happy because you got compensated. They're happy because they got their problem solved. And it's a free market. So if they don't like your price, they could go get the same service at a reduced cost elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? And when you build a premium brand, Myron Golden, he's selling a premium package, a coaching program, $55,000, $350,000, $1 million. I know it sounds crazy to charge $1 million for a coaching program. I couldn't even conceptualize people buying that. But, There's people that bought that, and there was someone, I think it was called the Sales Girls, right? So the Sales Girls, they bought his program and for $1 million, and they were struggling at $1.2 million a year. I know that sounds like such a struggle, right? I don't know how many business actually makes it to $1 million um, in a year of revenue within the year. But anyways, so whatever he taught them how to make. First, they bought the $350,000 coaching program. They made their investment back within the next week or two. They got the 350,000 back because he taught them implementable skills. They got them their money back. Eventually, less than a month or two later, they upgraded to the $1 million coaching program. They bought that shit. Guess what? They went from making $1.2 million a year to having a $1.2 million hour, or at least within a 1 day time frame, 24 hours. So, yo, like when someone teaches you how to make $1 million in a day, would it have been worth it to learn to pay them $1 million so you could get that lesson? Because they took what would have taken you they took what would have taken you what they was making $1 million in a year, right? What's that? 2,000. Look, so they was averaging $2,717 a day. That's not a bad day. And that's not bad if you're doing that every day. Oh, my bad. 65. I said 68. I'm bugging. So $2,739 a day, right? So he took them from this number, instead of making it in a year, made it in a day. So 2,739. Let me show you something. 2,739 minus 2,739. Don't be scared to invest in yourself. This is how much it's costing them to not pay him $1 million. It's costing them this amount. You know what I mean? Because now they know how to do that in a day, and now they obtain the skill, and now they're more valuable to themselves. Life's hard because we don't develop ourselves. We don't develop our psyche. We don't develop our vocab. We don't read books. We don't watch podcasts, seminars, or any of the shit. We wonder why life is hard. Life is hard because your XP is zero. If you play video games, you're gonna understand this analogy, and I'm gonna close on this, and then I'm out. Right? In video games, man. Right? When you're playing a video game, you start out, you got zero XP points, right? You know, Life seems to be the opposite of video games. I'll explain what I mean in a minute, right? Life is amazing in the first quarter of life, and it progressively gets worse as you age. You go from being in a pamper to 12 years old to 17 years old to 20 to having a job, filing taxes. Now you're 75, 85 years old, and you're back inside the same fucking pamper because you can't control your bowel movement, which is crazy that happens to some people. Got to take care of yourself to make sure that's not you. Anyways, as you could see, life is amazing in the first opening section of life, and it progressively gets worse as you age, because as you age, you're that much closer to death, and that constant daily realization is not exactly an exciting thing to think about all the time. And that's probably why we distract ourselves with video games and vices, so that we don't have to think about the fact that we're finite individuals and eventually we have to leave. But a video game is the opposite. A video game sucks in the beginning because you don't have no powers unlocked. You don't have any attributes. You don't have any skills. 0 XP on your character. You have the baseline character, which is the worst that your character is going to be. But it's exciting because your character has the opportunity to get better as you grow your skill, and you get better over time, right? So because you have the opportunity to get better, that's why the video game gets more exciting by the end of phase 1, phase 2, act 1, act 2, act 3. Midway through the game, it starts picking up the momentum and all that, and then then when you fight the final boss, is usually designed to be the most exciting part of the game, right? So that's the contrary to life, right? Because the opening act of life is like amazing, and then the end of it sucks. But the opening act to a video game sucks, and then the end of it is amazing. But anyway, what the similarities that life has to a fucking video game is the fact that if your character sucks, that's okay, because you can level up your XP. You know what I'm saying? If your strength meter is 1 out of 10, you could build that up to 6 out of 10. If your agility, your speed, your endurance, these are video game traits, but they apply to real life, right? Because some of us are severely lacking when it comes to our skill tree in certain areas. And because we're lacking in that area, any area in life where that's an area that you're lacking, and it's a requirement for you to get through life with less friction, and you're insufficient in an area where if you were more sufficient, life would actually be easier. You know what I'm saying? Like life be hard because like we don't develop ourselves and we don't know and we don't take notes from people that are doing better than us, right? Because whatever you struggle with, somebody is excelling in that area. And if only you would take notes and fucking listen to someone outside of yourself, you would actually get somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But instead we listen to our loser ass friends who drink and go to the club all the time and don't have any results that we admire, and we hang around losers and then we slowly become that which we hang out with. You know what I'm saying? And it's like if you feel like you're destined for greatness, you don't have time to be hanging out with a bunch of nobodies that won't go anywhere. You have to separate yourself from the pack and get your hands on new material. I was talking to an old friend from high school telling me that she's sad, feeling it's like, yo, every time I talk to you, you're sad, man. Like, are you reading any books? Are you watching any podcasts? Are you listening to any seminars? Are you, because if you don't, you're going to suffer. Because introducing yourself to new information gives you the opportunity to see life from a different vantage point. You see life from the depressing vantage point that you have because that vantage point is all you know, and nothing is challenging your perspective. And for as long as you don't introduce yourself to new material that challenges your current perspective, you cannot have a different perspective other than what you currently have. And if you have a perspective that doesn't serve you, life is hard automatically by default because the lens in which you're viewing life, right? One of my favorite quotes, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to clean your lens, right? Because if you're wearing a pair of glasses and the lens is smeared or it has dirt on it, everything you look at are going to look at is dirty. Everything. And it's not because the thing you're looking at is dirty, but rather because the lens that you're looking at it from hasn't been cleaned. And everything you look at is dirty from a skewed perspective. You know what I'm saying? You got to clean your lens, man. Like, like sometimes some people, their vantage point, they put on shades, like their lens are that their viewpoint, their vantage point of the world is that of a depressed person, is that of a person that only talks about like victim narrative, oppressor victim narrative story, like where you're the victim and someone else is the oppressor, or you can't be great because someone's impeding on your greatness. Get the fuck out of here. Like no one is stopping. The biggest problem that you've ever had is you. I promise. I swear to God. Like this first thing you learn when you take personal development seriously. The biggest problem I ever had is me. I started fixing me. Things got better. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man. Anyways, so same way you could upgrade your character in a video game, it's the same way you could upgrade your character in real life. And if I even, I even would say that if you don't upgrade your character at all, then it's gonna get really hard. You know what I'm saying? Because inside of you, there's a tougher version of you that should have been built up to this point that hasn't been built up. And now the weaker version of you is gonna combat the hardest parts of life in your weakest form. And don't you think that by itself makes the fight that much harder because of where you're at? You know what I mean? So, anyways, man, I hope this is edifying to somebody. I hope this helps you. You know what I'm saying? Let's see if I have any closing thoughts. You know what I mean? So yeah, don't be that person. Closing thoughts. You see the ATM balance is 0. I'd be out of my mind trying to go to this ATM and make a withdrawal. So friendships are like banks. You cannot make a withdrawal in areas in which you haven't made a deposit. Make some deposits, man. Start depositing more into other people's life. You'd be surprised how many more withdrawals you're able to make and people don't look at you side eye just because you need a loan. You know what I'm saying? Because like no one cares that you have an emergency, especially if you haven't talked to them for 20 years and your first interaction with them is you trying to extract value from them. But this is your balance with that person, 0, and you're going to show up to an ATM trying to make a withdrawal when you haven't made a single fucking deposit. Please don't be that person. See you on the next one.